Can you guys hear me?
Yep, perfectly.
Perfect. Hey, thank you so much for having me. Like David said, I've gotten to know him over the Mindset Summit, and just I can't tell you how many of my friends that I've invited to the Mindset Summit that have come back and said, "Man, what David shared was just so powerful." So appreciate what you do and the value that you bring, not just to the real estate community, but to I feel everybody that comes across your path. You're making a huge difference in people's lives, man, and just know it doesn't go unnoticed at all.
Thank you,
Uh,
brother. Appreciate you.
yeah. So you can buy me dinner next time I see you for saying these nice things about you, okay?
Absolutely. The steak I promised for pitching me is gonna. I got you. So good.
Absolutely. I'm gonna hold you to it.
All right,
Um,
show's yours, brother. Take care.
Thank you. So, hey guys, my name is Bhavan. I actually make my home in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I've been traveling around. And real quick, Amber or Michael, if you guys want to just give me a time, like if you see that, hey, my time is, coming to an end, just cut me off or give me like a little hand signal or something. Um, but yeah, so anyways, everyone, my name is Bhavan Singh. I make my home just outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. Had the pleasure of connecting with people like David Kurz at different mindset summits. And I'll tell you a little bit about me because I don't think anybody here knows me. So I'll just share a little bit about my background. Prior to me going on this entrepreneurial venture in life, I was kind of told typically what most people are told, right? Go to school, get good grades, go out and get a good job. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't knock people that do that. It's just a path that I learned very quickly on wasn't for me. Luckily, in my family, in a traditional Indian family, the typical attitude or mindset was, you graduate at the top of your class, you become a doctor. And I kind of went on that path at first. And so I enrolled in community college in Southern California where I was living. If anybody here is from Southern California, I enrolled in every community college in Southern California. I think I'm a student at like 9 or 10 different colleges right now. I still get the emails from them. But, my parents raised me a little bit differently. My parents raised me with books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich. And so I was taught earlier on that, hey, if that medical field or if that norm was not the route that I wanted to go on, I can go out and become an entrepreneur. I can go out and live the life that I wanted to live. And so through this process, I actually found myself working at 7-Eleven for a while. And I joke around with people. I make this joke from stage, but this is a true story, you guys, because, being an Indian in Southern California working at 7-Eleven, that's kind of like, oh, I'm, filling my people's paths, right? Because most 7-Elevens are owned by Indians. And here's a completely off-topic story. I shared this at Mindset Summit. I was at work one day and I was ringing this lady up at the cash register. And David can tell you this. Anybody that knows me knows I love to have fun. And so I'm ringing this lady up at the cash register and she has this like completely perplexed look on her face. And I have a very inquisitive nature. So I was like, hey, is everything okay? And you guys, I'm not joking. This is what she said to me. She said, yeah, oh, hey, somebody's in Vegas. Cool. Let me know when you're out there. I'd love to connect. So I'm like, hey, is everything okay? I'll put my contact in the chat, by the way. So I said, hey, is everything okay? And she said, I kid you not, you guys, this is exactly what she told me. I'm at the register at 7-Eleven, and this was her response. She said, yeah, it's just that we're at 7-Eleven and you're Indian, but you don't have an accent. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, sorry, I didn't mean to ruin your 7-Eleven experience, And so when she was leaving, I'm telling you, I can't believe this actually happened to me. But when she was leaving, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make her day because I love making people feel good. So when she got to the door, I said, excuse me, miss. And she turned around and I said, thank you, come again. And I had the whole store laughing. I was like, I want to make her day. So my boss wasn't too happy about that. And that's probably why I'm not working at 7-Eleven anymore. But that was not related to what I wanted to share. That's just a little bit about me. But anyway, so I started on this entrepreneurial venture 16 years ago. I was 22 at the time. I'm 38. And one thing I've learned over time, and I just want to help you guys understand this. Many of you are entrepreneurs, or you're in real estate. We've chosen to venture on a path that's different from the norm. Right? Many of us come from backgrounds where maybe we were taught, hey, we got to go to school, we got to get good grades, and we got to go out and work a job, right? And like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not that it's a bad thing or it's a good thing. It's just a path that we didn't particularly choose. And the reason why I say that is, many of you can attest to this. When you're on this entrepreneurial journey, when you're on this journey that's different from the norm, you're going to go through ups and downs. Many of you are all in real estate. You're going to go through rejections. You're going to go through people telling you one thing and maybe not following through. And an analogy I heard early on, which I really treat my life this way, is I treat my life kind of like a bow and arrow. You guys know how a bow and arrow works, right? If I have an arrow and I throw the arrow, it's not really going to do much damage. But if I put that arrow on a bow and I pull it back as far as I can before the bow breaks and I let go, that arrow is going to go a lot faster and further than if I just threw it. And that's kind of like our life, because see, what I've learned is sometimes on this path, we're going to go through things where we feel like we're being pulled back, right? And we have to understand that in life, sometimes you got to go 10 steps back in order to go 20 steps forward, right? So it's easy to get into the mindset of, where I was seeing all my friends succeeding at their job. And I felt like everything I was doing was just pulling me further and further away from the success I wanted to achieve, right? And I would get very frustrated. I'd get upset because I'm like, look at all my friends. They're so happy. They're making all this money, but they're succeeding in their careers or whatever. And I heard that example and I said, you know what? That's a relation to life. See, life for us, we are the arrow. The bow that we're on is life. Life is going to bring, negative situations, positive situations. We're going to go through things where we feel like we're being pulled back. Now, I'm not trying to be super preachy on here, but whether you believe in God or a higher power or, energy or anything like that, I'm just going to speak from God, if that's okay. And if it's not okay, I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry about speaking from it, but the way I look at it is God is in control of that bow, and he's going to pull the bow back, right? And if I just trust that he's going to keep pulling the bow back and the bow is not going to break, if I just stay on there, because it's easy to say, you know what? I went and made 100 phone calls today and nobody's buying. I feel like I'm being pulled back. I'm praying for this, to come out of this situation. And it seems like everything I'm doing is taking me further and further away from this goal that I want to accomplish. I'm, maybe getting more and more in debt. This person left me, this person said they were going to buy and they're not following through, or this person, we went through and filled out the contract or whatever the case is, and now they want to back out. We constantly feel like we're being pulled back. But if we trust the process enough, because look, here's the thing, there's only two things we can control. It's our attitude and our actions. We can't control the results. So if we trust the process enough, if I have enough faith in the process, then I'm going to trust that the reason why I'm being pulled back is because I'm on the bow. And me trying to get to the destination I want to get to on my own, I'm not going to get there, or it might take longer. But if I trust that God keeps pulling that bow back at the right time, the bow is not going to break. He is in control. I'm in control of my attitude. I'm in control of my actions, but he's in control of everything else. At some point when he lets go of that bow, me as the arrow, you as the arrow, we're going to soar so much further and faster than we ever thought possible. But we just have to trust the process. So my point in saying that is, whatever you're going through, wherever you're at in life, understand that we are on a bow and arrow right now. We're on the bow. And whether you feel like you're being pulled back, or, you feel like you're at a point where you just can't take it anymore, look, don't break. The bow is not going to break. Don't get off the bow. Trust the process, because when the time is right, if you stay consistent with whatever you've committed to stay consistent with, at some point, you're going to achieve so much more than you thought possible. Does that make sense? So that's kind of how I how I treat my life, right? So when I'm going through hard things, that's the way I look at it. And I wanted to, I was trying to see if I can pull up a screen, but I don't have the screen on this laptop because I'm actually visiting my parents' house in California. But if you guys are taking notes, and then I'll jump into what I wanted to share. But if you guys are taking notes, I want you to write this acronym down. It's PAARL. P like Peter, A like Apple, A like Apple, R like Rudy, L like Larry. And it's an acronym. Just so write it in giant letters, PAARL. And this is, some of you may have heard this before, some not, but this is how I do a plan, do review on my life. So that P stands for philosophy. The A stands for attitude. The second A stands for action. The R stands for results, and the L stands for lifestyle. So if I look at my life and I look at the L, so I circle the L and I say, okay, lifestyle. If I'm not living the lifestyle that I want to live, then it must be because I'm not getting the results I need in order to create the lifestyle I want to live. Because the lifestyle that I'm living right now is based on the results I've created up until now. Well, now, and so you guys follow me, I'm backtracking, right? So if I'm not creating the results that I need to create to live the lifestyle I want to live, it goes back to my actions. Am I taking the necessary actions to produce the results to create the lifestyle I want to live? Now, that A for action has a couple different things that can go to it. It can be either I'm not taking enough action, right? I'm just doing the bare minimum, or I'm doing it when it feels good, which we'll touch on that. A lot of times people take action when they feel good, but they don't take action when they don't feel good, right? It's so interesting because, and again, I'm not saying this in a bad way, so please don't interpret it that way. I just want you to understand the example. If we were all working a job right now, like if David Kurz was your boss and he said, hey, Michael, hey, Amber, hey, James, if you don't call this many people today, you're going to be fired. Then whether we feel good or not, we are going to take the action, right? Is that safe to say? Whether we feel good or not, because we don't want to lose the job. So it's so interesting because I hear my friends are like, oh, yeah, I feel sick today, but I'm still going into work. Or I have a headache, but I'm still going into work. But all of a sudden, when they become an entrepreneur or when they venture off to do something on their own, it's easy to say, you know what? I have a little bit of a headache today, so I'm going to take the entire day off. I feel sick today, so I'm going to take the entire day off. So how are you taking action? Are you taking action based on your emotions, or are you taking action based on your commitment? See, I started off in my venture by taking action based on my emotions. And that is why I didn't get where I wanted to get in life. And I started questioning, hey, am I destined for this? Well, if I look back on my action, if I look back on Parl and I say, hey, I'm not living the life I want to live, and that's because I'm not getting the results I want to get, let's evaluate my action. Right? Am I taking action based on emotion, or am I taking action based on my commitment to the lifestyle that I want to live? Right? So that's one aspect of taking action. The second thing could be, hey, am I taking action consistently for a long enough period of time? How many of you know people in real estate that get their license, or in any entrepreneurial venture, they join a company or they get their real estate license or whatever the case is, and they talk to 5 people and nobody wants to buy, and then they quit. Say, oh man, real estate wasn't for me. Nobody wants to buy a house, right? Or, oh, this wasn't for me because the 2 people that I spoke to said no. Or because the one person that I spoke to said, hey, you're a bozo for doing this. You need to go out and get a real job, right? So how consistent are you with taking the necessary action, right? Are you taking it for a long enough period of time? Now, let's evaluate that. If you are taking action for a long enough period of time, now, and you're not getting the results you want, which is not producing the lifestyle you want, let's look at your attitude going into the action. If I cold call somebody, if I prospect somebody and I have a very negative demeanor about myself, if I'm trying to talk to Michael about real estate, or to Amber, and sorry, Michael and Amber, you guys are the only names I see on my screen right now. But if I talk to Michael about real estate, or, joining my company or whatever, but I have a very hunched over, kind of monotonous, soft-spoken kind of tone, and I don't sound very a confident or a conviction in what I do. I hope it's okay to say this, but if I have a shitty attitude, and I'm trying to talk to Michael about real estate, is he going to want to do business with me if I'm just a negative person? So let's evaluate my attitude. Now, this is what these first three things, the actions we take and the attitude we have, that's what we can control. Because our attitude, you and I can do the same action, okay? Michael and I can do the same action day in and day out. But if Michael has a positive attitude about the actions he's taking, he's not letting a rejection or an objection or whatever stop him from taking action or ruin his mental space. If we both are taking the same action, he's got a positive attitude and I've got a negative attitude, over time, maybe in this exact moment, we won't see a significant difference. But 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, we're going to see that slight edge curve go up for Michael and go down for me. Because I'm going to continuously say, man, I'm taking action and nothing's coming from it. I suck, or this is not for me, or whatever. Michael might say, hey, I'm taking the action. You know what? Nobody's bought yet. Nobody's joined me yet, but I know I'm getting closer to a yes. Hey, God's in control. I'm committed to my goals. I know that everything I do right now is a milestone that's going to get me to the next level. Over time, Michael is going to have tremendous success and I'm going to have tremendous failure. That's just the reality of it. But how do we fix our attitude then? So you might be sitting here saying, you know what? I don't have the lifestyle I want, and that's because I'm not getting the results I want. And I think I'm not getting the results because I'm not taking the necessary action, or my attitude going into the action is not where it needs to be. That's where we go back to that P, the philosophy. What are we filling our heads with every day? Who are we surrounding ourselves with? Are we waking up? Look, we live in a world right now where there is a lot of unfortunate, scary things happening, right? There's, just in our country alone, there's a lot of discrimination happening because of what's going on in the Middle East. There's a lot of hate happening. Our news, our social media is being bombarded with so much negativity. And I'm not negating what's going on in the world. It's very devastating what's going on in the world. But here's my point. How are you starting your day every day? Are you waking up, starting your day by reading the news, by watching the news and filling your head with this negativity? Or are you waking up every day being grateful? Right? It's one thing to get up in the morning and say, oh my God, let me watch the news of what's going on in the Middle East. Let me watch the news about this hate crime and let me fill my head with all this fear and let me take that into the day. I guarantee you, if you do that, you can take as much action as you want and you will not have success if you do that day in and day out. That's like me saying, you know what, I'm going to work out every day, but every day I'm going to eat cheeseburger, fries, and pizza and ice cream. Oh, well, I'm not. Guess what? You're not going to lose weight. In fact, you're going to end up gaining weight as much as you work out, right? I mean, there's probably more to it, like your caloric deficit. This is not a nutrition class, so don't quote me word for word on it, okay? But you get my point. It's not going to do anything for your health if you keep working out and you keep eating horribly day in and day out. It's the same thing with our mind. We're not going to get the results that we want to get and live the life that we want to live if we're constantly filling our head with negativity. Right? So how are you starting your morning? That's your philosophy. Are you waking up and the moment your eyes open, you have this immediate sense of gratitude? Look, my next breath is not guaranteed to me. Me going to sleep tonight and waking up tomorrow morning is not guaranteed. It's not a right, it's a privilege. If we treat our life as a privilege, we will act so much more differently. Most of us live in this world where we think that it's a right. We deserve to wake up in the morning. I'm guaranteed to wake up in the morning. I'm guaranteed for my next breath. Look, how many people right now that we see going on in the world, went to bed last night and didn't wake up this morning for whatever reason. So how are you treating the day? Are you waking up in an attitude of gratitude? Are you waking up the moment your feet hit the ground? It's like, let's go. I'm getting everything I possibly can from this day. Are you going into, what are you reading first thing in the morning? Are you reading, the negative news? Are you reading a news article? Are you picking up a book like Power Habits or David Kurz's new book, which I'm so excited to read? It's been sitting on my doorstep for like a week because I haven't been home. I hope it's still there when I get back, because I have like 10 of them sitting there right now. But how are you starting your day? Because I know that for me, how I start my morning is going to play into how I take on the rest of the day. Because if I start my morning in an attitude of gratitude, if I write my goals every morning, I'm a praying man. So if I pray in the morning, if I meditate, if I read something positive every morning, I know that once the day actually starts, my attitude is going to be different. It's not going to be out of fear, but it's going to be out of faith. It's going to be out of action. It's going to be out of positivity. And that is going to relay into the actions that I take. And taking those necessary actions, it's going to push me to go past the rejection. It's going to push me to go past the people that say, hey, man, what are you doing? Go get a real job. Or, hey, you're never going to make it. Or whatever objection I get, it's going to push me past that. And if I have that right attitude to push past that, I will get the results that I need to get to live the lifestyle that I want to live. Guys, this is a perfect plan, do, review. You don't need to go in through this extensive thing. I'll just recap. Look at the lifestyle that you have. If you're not living the lifestyle that you want to live, look at the results you're getting. If you're not getting the results that you need to get to live that lifestyle, evaluate your actions. Are you taking enough action? Are you taking consistent action? When it comes to action, I always, some people, I've been to some offices and some sales offices and stuff, and people will say, all right, my goal is to call 10 people today. My goal is to call 20 people today. The problem with most of those people is the ones that actually call 10. So let's say they're full-time. I'm going to use real estate as an example. Michael, let's say your goal is full-time to call, your goal is to call 10 prospects today. Okay. 10 cold calls. What happens is Michael says, okay, at 9 a.m., I'm going to make the phone calls. He knocks out all 10 of them by 10 a.m. Most people, what they do is they say, I've hit my activity goal for the day. I'm going to take the rest of the day off. I'm going to be busy. I'm not going to be productive, but I'm going to be busy. So I always tell people, never make your minimums your maximum. If you can do more, do more. Because if you don't do more, then you're not going to get anywhere. Right? It's different if someone has, if someone's working a full-time job's got a full-time family and they're doing real estate part-time on the side and they can only make 10 calls because that's all they have time for. That person will have more success in the long run than the person that's doing real estate full-time and only makes 10 calls. It's the same activity, but that person that does it full-time is making their minimums their maximum. So with the action, again, I hope I'm not confusing anyone. And if I am, just put it in the chat and, I'll try to elaborate a little bit more. But with your actions, don't make your minimums your maximum, right? And again, evaluate your actions. If your actions are not leading the results, look at where they're coming from. Do you have the right attitude going into the actions that you take, right? And if your attitude is not where you want it, where you are hoping it would be, or if you don't have the attitude of someone like David Kurz, who's just radiates this ball of positivity and hope and inspiration in people, if you don't have that, evaluate your philosophies, right? I mean, look, what books are you guys reading? Are you reading 50 Shades of Grey, or are you reading Think and Grow Rich? Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. Look, I've never read 50 Shades of Grey, right? But this is my dad's library. I think he's read most of these books, right? But that's my point, is what are you filling your head with? So I hope that was kind of helpful information. Use that analogy. It's the way that I evaluate my life. And look, you guys, I'm going to be completely candid with everyone. Hey, Michael, how much time do I have, just so I'm on track? I'm going to be completely
30 more.
What's that?
30 more minutes.
Okay. So I'm going to be completely candid with everyone. I'm not perfect. Do I make mistakes? Absolutely. Do I forget to read? Absolutely. Look, this morning I wanted to get up at 5 a.m., get a little workout in, do some reading, fill my head with the right space before I jumped on my morning Zooms. But by the way, I'm in California right now, so it's 8:27 over here. So I wanted to get up at 5. Look, I got up at 5, and you know what I did? I hit the snooze button, and I got up at 6:30, and I had a 7 a.m. Zoom, so I couldn't do the stuff that I wanted to do. I'm not perfect, but I know that I'm getting better each day, right? I'm not perfect, but I know that the me of today is better than the me of yesterday. And the me of yesterday is better, the me of this year is better than the me of last year. I'm a better person at the end of 2023 than I was at the beginning of 2023. And I know that going into 2024, if I just focus on getting better, I'm going to have better results. I'm going to have a better quality of life. I mean, I love the way I live. Don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to help y'all understand that it all stems from our philosophy. You know, I'll tell you guys a quick breakdown of how I typically start my morning. I get up. I'm grateful when I wake up. I meditate for 15 minutes. I meditate for 15. Some of you might think this is crazy, or you think I'm some, this is some hocus pocus type of thing, but I'm going to tell you what I do. And over the last few days, it's actually helped me. I will get a glass of water, and I'll put the water down. You guys know there's power in words, right? You guys know that? You guys all believe that there's power in words, what we tell ourselves, right? If I sit here and tell myself, man, I suck, I'm stupid, I'm not worthy, I'm never going to succeed, over time, I'm eventually going to believe that. And guess what? It's never going to happen. There's power in words. Have you ever heard people say, oh, the secret, like when you eat this amazing tasting food, it's so warm, it fills you up inside, you have this so much happiness after you eat, and people say, oh yeah, I made this with love. Have you guys ever heard that? You guys ever heard people say they made this food with love? Right? There's power in words. So what I do, look, every morning I get a glass of water and I set it on the table. And when I meditate I meditate and then I pray and everything. And I don't know if this makes sense, but I ask that when I drink that glass of water, that it rids my body of negative energy. It cleanses my body of negative thoughts. It purifies my mind. It gets me into a heightened state of positivity, a higher vibration, and it allows me to get through whatever I need to get through, whatever obstacles come my way each day. I ask that it gets me through that. And I drink the water. Look, I don't know if it works or not, but I can tell you this much. After I drink the water, I feel freaking amazing afterwards. And I am able to get through the day. You might say, oh, that's crazy, or this guy, doing some crazy ritual. Or guys, it's a glass of water. I'm just praying over it, So that's kind of what I do. So I hope that makes sense. And I hope that was some value. So I know David asked me to jump on here and share with you guys. Actually, real quick, before I do that, I wanted to share one other thought, one other thing that I had, because we're all in sales. We all deal with rejection. And I know you guys have heard it before, and I've heard it before, but it's interesting because sometimes we hear things, but we're not at the right space mentally to receive the message, right? So we hear, there's some messages here. I love that. I wake up my wife and kids every morning happy as heck, and everyone wonders why. I tell them we got another day to do it better. It's a gift. 100%. It is truly a gift, right? I believe life is God's gift to us. What we do with it is our gift to God, right? We all have the potential within us, right? And so there was something I was saying earlier, and before I read that message, and I lost my train of thought. So if you guys can edit this part out, just edit it out, because there's a little gap here. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. But, here we go. So we're all on this journey, right? We all are in sales. We're constantly, trying to promote us as a realtor, us, whatever service we sell, whatever product we sell, whatever the case is. And we're going to hear a lot of different stories. And you guys know that if we hear something long enough, we tend to believe it as being true, right? about us. So what happens is, for the longest time, I started to believe what other people said about me. Wasn't good enough. An Indian guy with no college degree, you know, you're never going to find a girl, you're never going to get married, you're never going to succeed, right? This is what I believed about myself. And I remember one day I was working out with my trainer, and I just had a horrible workout. Like the week before, I was on point. I was hitting higher weights than before. I was just on point. I had this workout with my trainer, and I felt beat. I felt defeated. And I told him, I was like, bro, man, I don't want to do anything today, man. I had such a horrible workout. I didn't hit any of my weights. I couldn't get through it. And he was like, wait, so let me get this straight. As strong as you are mentally, you're going to allow one bad workout to define the rest of your day? And I was like, whoa, I never thought about it like that. And so I want you to understand that whatever people tell us, it's not what they say to us. It's the story we tell ourselves about what they've told us. So if someone on here says, hey, man, this guy Bhavan was a joke, he doesn't know anything, what you say about me is not going to affect me. It's what I tell myself about what you said about me. If I sit there and say, oh, man, this person was right, maybe I am a joke, maybe I am not going to be good enough, I will start to believe that. But I can reverse that and say, hey, you know what? That's just their opinion. I know what I was created with. I know what I was born to do. I'm living my purpose. I know what I'm capable of. It's a completely different story. So understand, it's not the story that it's not what somebody says to us. It's the story we tell ourselves about what they said to us. Does that make sense? So just keep that in mind, because look, we all have dreams of what we want to accomplish. Michael, your dream is different from Amber's. Amber, your dream is different from Juan. I like that, Juan in a million. You know, Amber, your dream is different from Juan. Juan, your dream is different from Kathy. Kathy, your dream is different from me. I believe that we each have our own individual dreams. And your dream is not wrong, and mine is right, or mine is wrong and yours right. We all have the dreams that we have. Those dreams were placed within us. So I started looking at whatever problems I face in life, not as, man, I'm just not, like, why do I keep getting these problems? I started looking at it as those problems were set in place for me to go through to accomplish the dreams that I want to accomplish. I need to go through whatever challenges I'm going through, because those challenges are a platform for me to get to the dream that was placed in me. So in a way, it's easier to say it when you're not going through stuff. So I understand that. But in a way, the problems that I'm going through were problems that were created specifically for me to go through, because of the dreams that were specifically placed within me. Because if Michael is going through a problem and I say, oh man, Michael's problem is so much smaller. And Michael, I'm just using you as an example, so please don't take it that way. But if I say, oh my God, Michael's problem is so much smaller than the one I'm going through, why can't I be in Michael's shoes? Well, the problem Michael is going through is what he's going through, because that's the problem he needs to go through to get to the dream that was placed within him. So if I ask for his situation, if I say, oh, Michael's problem is smaller than mine, then I can go through his problem, but the problem that he's facing, if I go through it, may not be what I need to go through to get to the life that I want to live. Does that make sense? So I just started looking at obstacles a little bit differently. So anyways, I know I'm all over the place with that. I wanted to share that with you guys. But so David asked me to come on here because one of the things I talk about at the Mindset Summit, which I've spoken at for the last 3 or 4 times, is to talk about Legal Shield as a resource for realtors. You know, a couple of things. One, it's and I'll put my contact in the chat, but one of the biggest things I talk about when I speak at different real estate events is the power of creating, and I'm transitioning, guys, so I hope you follow me on this, but it's the power of creating residual income. See, residual income is doing something one time, but getting paid over and over and over and over again for that life, right? You know, I've been with Legal Shield now for 16 years. I'm still getting paid today for work I did 16 years ago in March of 2007. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm not saying that to boast. I'm saying that to say residual income is an incredible thing because, you know, I've encountered. Now, look, I'm not a realtor myself, so if I say something incorrect, please feel free to call me out on it. I like to be an open book, and I'm always open to anything I say that's not correct. But I've heard from other realtors that the market is very interesting right now. A lot of realtors are, maybe they're having a hard time, right? And, I give you an example. A lot of realtors and people in general typically love what they do, right? They make a lot of money. My mom was a doctor for the state of California. She loved what she did. She made a multiple six-figure income and would not want to do anything else outside of serving people, right? But when she got diagnosed with cancer and then passed away, do you think that her job is still paying my family that multiple six-figure income for the patients that my mom saw over the last 10, 20, 30 years? They're not. So you may love what you do, but consider doing something that can build a revenue stream for you. So one day when you stop working, the money doesn't stop, right? Like, look what happened in 2020. How many millions of people were forced out of work overnight, right? How many businesses were shut down overnight because of the pandemic? How many people's income came to a screeching halt? I know in the last downturn in the economy, I know so many realtors that went from making 6 and 7 figures that made literally nothing. Like their incomes were gone overnight. They were losing properties. Now, I look, I'm not in real estate, so I wasn't involved in that. But my point is, and this is not to take you away from doing real estate. I hope you guys understand that. I would never take any of you away from doing real estate. The reason why David brought me on here is because of a couple things. Legal Shield is a great resource for realtors to provide for their clients, and I'll explain why, but it's also a great resource to build an additional revenue stream that's passive and residual. I'll give you an example. Some of you may have heard of Legal Shield, some of you have not. Legal Shield is basically a service that gives people access to attorneys, gives people access to entire law firms for things like estate planning, contract and document review, or just being able to pick up the phone and speak to an attorney and never get a bill for that conversation. I joke around with people when I do presentations for Legal Shield, and because people will say, hey, how often can I use the service? How often can I talk to these attorneys? Say, look, you talk to them unlimited. Like, if you're legally lonely, just pick up the phone and talk to an attorney because you're never going to get a bill for that conversation, right? But you speak to an attorney that specializes in your area of questioning. Now, you guys you're constantly dealing with contracts that, maybe it's a contract that shows that you're representing the buyer, the seller, the investor. Hey, why not get these contracts reviewed, right? Or use this as a resource to say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Client, now that you've purchased a home, I'm referring you to all of these services already. Here's another service that you should look at getting because it can protect your assets. It can protect your life. Get your estate planning affairs updated. Now that you've bought a home or sold a home, get those documents updated. Hey, when you go and sign up for, homeowners insurance, or when you go and sign up for the security company, make sure you get those contracts reviewed by your law firm through Legal Shield before you sign anything. So you've got the law on your side looking after your best interest. You guys follow me on that? Right? And that's basically what Legal Shield does. I'll give you a quick story. I got a friend of mine who works with a realtor in Virginia, Doug Elliott. This was a realtor in Virginia who's also a Legal Shield rep. And he's a full-time real estate agent, but he offers Legal Shield to all of his clients. And so he was representing a seller, and they went to go, do the walkthrough of the house and whatnot. And there was a water leak in the house. And so Doug Elliott told the client, hey, got to get that fixed, however that process works. So the client called the insurance company because she had her, homeowner's insurance and whatever insurances she needed for the house. So called the insurance company and explained what happened, and the insurance company denied the claim. Well, again, I'm not in real estate, but I'm sure that they're not going to be able to sell the house if there's a water leak going on, right? And so the insurance company denied the claim. So Doug told the seller, hey, you should look at Legal Shield because this is what it can do. The person signed up for Legal Shield, called the law firm, spoke to an attorney that specialized in that particular area, had the attorney contact the insurance company on her behalf. See, when she contacted the insurance company, nothing got done. But when you have an attorney contact the same company on your behalf, all of a sudden things work out a little bit differently. The same people that denied her claim, after talking to her attorney, went and honored the claim and went and got the house fixed, and they were able to sell the house. Boom, problem solved. See, that's the power of having access to an attorney. You know, I have a good friend of mine who is out of the Maryland, DC area, full-time real estate agent, right? His family built one of the largest real estate offices on the East Coast while being a real estate agent, just by offering Legal Shield to his clients. Look, we're not saying offering something that is taken away from real estate. We're not offering something that doesn't, you know, that's, I mean, respectfully, I hope it's okay that I'm saying this. I apologize in advance. But you're not telling your client, hey, now that you bought a home from me, let me sell you this lotion or these weight loss products or supplements. You're offering something that goes hand in hand with what they're already getting. I mean, everybody on here can agree that access to the justice system is so imperative. It's so important. But the reality is access to the justice system is only reserved for those that can afford it. Because look, the color of justice is not black or white, it's green. You get as much justice as you can afford. You know, as a kid growing up, we used to say the Pledge of Allegiance, right? And we would end it with liberty and justice for all. Justice for all is not a reality, because most people can't afford it. But now they have a resource where they can afford it, because now that legal playing field has finally been leveled. And you guys as realtors have a resource where you can offer this service to your clients without taking away from your real estate business. You know, I work with several real estate brokers in San Antonio and Austin through the Mindset Summit, who have brought this on board as a resource for all of their clients. And it's producing an additional revenue stream that's completely residual. So, you know, I know I'm coming up to the end of time here. I'm going to put my contact in the chat. If you guys have questions, you want to talk, shoot me a text, give me a call. I think that's kind of it. Just here, let me put my contact in the chat real quick. But I do want to end by saying this. I want you to keep in mind, and I can't stress this enough, this is in no way for me to say, hey, stop selling real estate and start selling Legal Shield. What I'm saying is you're already working with the client. You're already referring them to things for their home to protect themselves. Why not refer them to something that can bring so much tremendous value? You know, I'll give you an example real quick. We all have different insurance policies, right? We've got our homeowners insurance, our health insurance, our life insurance, our auto insurance, all of that stuff. My homeowners insurance policy, I pay regularly for, but I've not extracted value from that yet, because the only way I can extract value from those insurances is if something happens to me. If my home gets burglarized or a flood, you know, my life insurance policy, I can't extract value from that. And I don't want to extract value from that, because that means I wouldn't be here. You know, and Michael, I'll put my contact in the chat. I'm sorry. All of these other policies I pay regularly for, but I can't extract value. Legal Shield is the only policy I have that I pay for every month where I extract immediate value from. And I'll give you an example. Put real estate aside for the moment as a member of Legal Shield. The very first time I used the service, I had a phone company overcharge me $52 on my phone bill. Called the phone company and they said, there's nothing we can do. And I said, you know what? That's fine. I didn't stress out about it. I was like, I got this Legal Shield thing. Let me see if this actually works. Called my law firm, spoke to an attorney. And I remember telling the attorney, hey, I've got a situation with a phone company that's overcharged me $52. It's not a lot of money. I don't know if it's worth it for you guys. That attorney said, it's not the amount of money, it's the principle of the matter. Because you're not paying us hourly, you're part of Legal Shield, we're going to go ahead and contact the phone company on your behalf and fix this situation. One letter from my law firm, I got an apology letter from the phone company, and I didn't have to pay the $52. Guys, who's going to call an attorney for a $52 situation or a $6 situation that my friend used against DoorDash? I've had people use it for being sued. I have real estate investors that use it because every time they go into an investment opportunity, before they do anything, they take the information they received and they consult with their attorney who specializes in investing in the state that they're looking to invest in, because that's covered 100% under the Legal Shield membership. See, that's the power of having access to it. David also asked me to mention some of the other benefits. I've used it for things like getting a speeding ticket, having an attorney go to court for me to fight the ticket. Now, I will caution this. This is not a service for you to say, hey, now that I have Legal Shield, let me go out and break the law. This is not what that kind of, this is not a get out of jail free card, okay? It's not Monopoly here, you know what I mean? And I tell people, if you're going 100 miles an hour in a 55 zone, look, you deserve the ticket, right? But bad things happen to good people. How powerful is it to say, you know what, I got a ticket, I think it's unfair. Take a picture of the ticket from your phone, automatically upload it from your Legal Shield app to your traffic attorney in the state that you reside in, and let them connect you with an attorney in whatever state you got the ticket in, and have that attorney go to court for you to fight it. What happens if look, we're all 1099. What do we do if we get audited? We get a lot of tax breaks, or you're an LLC or a 1099, we get a lot of tax benefits. What happens if you get audited by the IRS? As a member of Legal Shield, you have a tax attorney that will represent you for the audit. I don't know. Look, you guys, you heard my story in the beginning. 9 years in community college. I didn't really get far in community college. I think in college, I only completed 15 transferable units in 9 years. Right? So I don't know the first thing about the law, nor do I want to go and try to research anything about the law. But it's so nice to know that if I ever find myself in a situation where I get audited, or if I get sued, or whatever the case is, I can pick up the phone and have my attorney that specializes in that handle that for me. So I'm going to put my contact in the chat. Claudia, I see your message. How much is the membership? It could be anywhere from $30 a month to $80 a month. There's different coverages. I'll put my contact there. If you have questions, reach out to me. I'm also on Facebook under Bhavan Singh. There's two of me, so I'll tell you which one is my profile if you want to add me. This is my profile picture. I don't know how to share it on here, so forgive me. If you search for me, that is my profile picture on Facebook. So add me, let's be friends, let's connect. And with that, Michael, I will turn it over to you. That's my cell phone, guys. You can text me, call me. And Michael or Amber, thank you so much for allowing me to be on here today.
Hey, Amber. You can stop the recording, I suppose.